Welcome back to Custom Action Figures 101. I'm Rob Panic. Today we're going to be reviewing a product from AVES. Their website is avesstudio.com. A lot of you guys are probably familiar with AVES Sculpt. Their Epoxy and Fix It, or they're a ambient curing two-part epoxy. A lot of great action figure customizers use AVES products for sculpting. It's great for adding definition to pieces, for creating heads, for filling gaps, and smoothing out pieces that you're working on for your action figure parts. The two main products that they have that everyone's familiar with is the Epoxy Sculpt and the Fix It. As I said, they're both two-part. This is the Epoxy. You have a clay and a hardener. You mix those 50-50 to get the right consistency so that they cure properly. And then you have the AVES Fix It. Same thing, you have two parts. One is a clay, one is a hardener. And you mix part A and part B 50-50. Mix it up thoroughly, and you have your sculpting compound. They also have a couple of other products. They have the Epoxy comes in a super white. The super white is just what it says. It is a very bright white based compound. Same as with the other epoxy, you have a hardener and you have a clay, and then they have an actual epoxy clay. The epoxy clay is just a little bit grainier. It's more closely resembles like a pottery clay, but it's the same principle. 50-50, mix part A, part B, and you've got your compound. They also have a relatively new product that they have put out, the Epoxy Primary Color Kit. One of the cool things about it is it's also a two-part compound, but it comes in different colors. The Primary Color Kit has red, yellow, blue, and green. They also include a color chart to mix different custom colors. The color chart is pretty simple to follow. Your original color, mix 50-50 with white, mix 50-50 with super white, and then you get the different color combinations for what you're looking for. They also have a product that is an Epoxy Paste. Same thing, 50-50, part A, part B. Mix them together. 1 to 3 hour cure work time, 24-hour cure time. And as it says, highly adhesive, slightly translucent, flexible, waterproof, zero shrinkage, non-flammable, no solvents, no conductives, freeze thaw stable. Now, freeze thaw stable is something that can help you out a lot when you're sculpting. Say you get into a project, you get part of the way finished with it, and you have to stop for some reason. You can take it, your unfinished project, stick it in the freezer, come back, let it thaw out, and continue with it. It also means that if you buy, like, say one of the 4-pound tubs of epoxy, you can actually freeze it. If you're gonna buy in bulk, but you know you're not gonna use it all at once, you can freeze whatever you're not gonna use, thaw it out whenever you're ready to use the actual parts. They also have a safety solvent, which is a really good product for smoothing out, for cleaning your tools, for cleaning your hands. anything that comes in contact with the AVES product. They also have a product that we're not going to be reviewing today that they sent. We're going to get to it later on in a diorama project. It's an AVES clay shade. It's like feels like clay, sets like mache. It's a sculpting compound that, as it says, it's like a clay that you can use also as a paper mache. And we'll get into that later on. We're going to do a nice diorama project with that. For today, we're going to be focusing on the Epoxy Sculpt and the Fix It. Now, one of the biggest differences you're going to notice right off the bat is the consistency. The epoxy is it's closer to like a bubble gum consistency versus the Fix It is a little closer to like a clay consistency. I'm gonna go ahead and pull out a little piece of each, and then since they are two-part, we're going to get a equal portion of hardener for each one. And you don't have to be 100% exact with it. You know, I've seen people say to, you know, weigh it out, but I mean, you're not going to weigh it out and get it right because of the different mass and consistency of it. You wind up with one more than the other. The best way to do it is just to eyeball it. Get you a nice little spot of it out, and then take them and you're going to mix them together. Now, you do want to thoroughly mix the product. Mix it together by kneading it. Once you have it thoroughly mixed, this is going to be the hard part, guys. Take it and set it down. Same thing with the epoxy. You're going to want to mix it thoroughly. Your 50-50 mix. Make sure that it's completely mixed through. Get it kneaded to mixed in. Take your little glob, sit it down, and let it start to cure. I've seen where a lot of people make the mistake of going ahead and, okay, now I've got it mixed, let me start to mold it, let me start to just try to, you know, make my part I'm going to make. Don't do that. Just let it sit. At this stage, it's a little too soft to really work with, and you're going to get frustrated with it. If you'll stop and let it sit for 20 to 30 minutes, you know, your temperature of the room you're working in will have a little bit to do with curing time, humidity, but you know, with a little bit of practice, you'll figure out what works best. But just let it sit, let it start to cure. Once it starts to firm up a little bit more, it becomes a lot easier to work with. At that point, get out our wax carver toolkit, and we'll start to do a little bit of molding and sculpting and see what we can get done here. Okay, 30 minutes has elapsed. We're back now. And our Epoxy Sculpt and our Fix It, it started to firm up a little bit, which actually will make it a little bit easier to work with, a little bit easier to sculpt, a little easier to handle. Same with our epoxy. It's actually started to set up a little bit. It makes it not quite as sticky, a little easier to work with. Now, one of the differences between the epoxy and And to fix it, a lot of people recommend epoxy for use with filling and building up on your action figure parts that you're going to sculpt. For this, we're going to be filling in a couple of holes on the front and back of this figure using our epoxy. As you can see, there used to be a little belt buckle that went in there. We got a spot on the back that's got a hole we want to fill as well. Going to take a little bit of our Epoxy Sculpt and fit it into our hole. Now it's really easy to use. We're just going to fill it in. Put a little bit extra on there. Once I've got it in there, I'm going to use one of my matte wax carving tools here, and we're just going to smooth it out right across the top of what we have sculpted there, what we filled in. Take our finger and smooth it out a little bit. And that fills that hole. Take our excess off here. And it is water clean. You can use water to clean it up. Just gonna get a little bit off there. Wipe off the little bit of excess. I'm actually using saliva. It's a habit I got into in sculpting. It's just, you've always got saliva even when you don't have water. It cleans right up. And we're going to do the same thing on the front. Going to get a little bit of our epoxy. Pop it in. Smooth it out. Use a wax carving tool to smooth it out of our belt line. Whoops, got into the actual putty there. Smooth it out of belt lines a little bit, and wipe it off. Also, if you keep your fingers moist, a little bit of spit, a little bit of water. A lot of people actually use petroleum jelly. Get a little dab of petroleum jelly. It keeps it from sticking to your fingers and it makes it smoothing over it really simple. We're going to wipe up our excess. Now we've got the holes filled in and smoothed on this guy. Set him to the side and let him cure. Another use for your epoxy, if any of you buy custom casted heads, a lot of times you'll run into getting heads that have a little bubble hole in it, a little miscast. Epoxy is excellent for filling in little bubble holes. Just put it in the hole, smooth it over, build up a little bit more, and it smooths it right out. Set this guy over here to the side and let it cure. And as I said earlier, it's stable to be frozen, so I can take this little chunk and actually stick it in the freezer until I'm ready to use it again. Really great feature of the Epoxy Sculpt. Here's an example of a figure I did where I used the AVES Fix-It. This started out as a Darth Maul head, and I sculpted the hair onto it to make a custom road pig figure for a G.I. Joe crossover project I have been doing, making a mix-up of G.I. Joe and Star Wars characters. As you can tell, the Fix-It, it holds fine detail really well. It doesn't sag, it doesn't drag. I don't know if you can see the detailing in the hair. I just really love the product for sculpting, adding hair, adding beards, adding armor, pretty much anything that you can want to sculpt on your figure. You can use the Fix-It to sculpt it. This is just a little quick and dirty, if you will, beard that I've added to this. This is a Star Wars clone head. I'm using one of my wax carving tools, a little bit of my handy dandy saliva to smooth it out. If you keep it moist, keep it smooth, it makes it easier to sculpt, prevents it from sticking to your tools. The product smooths very well. I'm not by any means a world-class sculptor. I'm going to show you some examples here coming up of some really nice work that different customizer friends have made using AVES sculpting products. But as you can see, I mean, it's really easy to work with. It's one of those products that, I mean, it's just, once you practice, as I always say, keep practicing with it. It holds your fine details very well. You can scratch little hairs into your beard or your hair that you add. As you scratch fine details into it, the Fix-It really holds up well. You can see a little closer the fine detail it holds. And as it cures more, you can add even more detail. What I would suggest is, get everything roughed out that you're going to do. Smooth out, take off any excess material. Once you get it roughed in, smooth everything out a little bit. Get your sides symmetrical. Then let it sit for a little while longer and cure. As it cures, it'll harden up a little bit, and then you can add even more. One thing I will suggest, if you're going to, say, sculpt a head from scratch, use some of your epoxy to get your head roughed out to the basic shape of a head that you want. And I'm using a head, for example, Same holds true for excuse me, armor, or any details to like adding muscle tones to arms and legs and stuff. Get it kind of fleshed out as to what you want it to start off with. Once you get it fleshed out, then let it cure. With this, I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of indents to where my eyes are going to be. And then we're going to just want to let this sit and cure. Once this is cured, then you can come back and you can take some of your fix-it, roll it out into little thin snakes, and add your details. Add your brows, add your nose, add your chin, add your lips, add the ears to it. Add those details after you've already gotten your piece, the base of it started, and let it cure. And you'll get a lot better results that way. And as I said in our introduction, AVES also has a safety solvent. It's a great product for smoothing and texturing, removing fingerprints that may be in your sculpt, and also for cleaning up your hands and your tools. It comes with a little dropper on the bottle. Put a little drop on there, and then it'll help just remove and wipe off any residual sculpt that may be on your tools. And as you're working with the tools, keep them clean. The less residual sculpt you have on it, the less chance there is for the piece you're working on to stick to the tool. It's also good for cleaning off your hands. Sometimes when you're mixing, especially the super white, tends to stick to your hands a bit. Safety solvent, it's great to take that off. Now, this is the part where we get to show off some awesome artwork. We've got several great customizers that have contributed works to this project, to this review. Stay tuned for a quick slideshow to show off some of their work. The descriptions and the artists will be before each one of the slides with the work. Be sure to check them out. I've got links on there to their respective social media pages and websites. Be sure to check them out and tell them Custom Action Figures 101 sent you. And that does it for our AVES product review. Thanks again to AVES Sculpt for helping us out, providing the products for the review. We've got a lot more great reviews coming up from some other great manufacturers, so be sure to stay tuned in for that. And don't forget our customizing tutorials and our custom action figure reviews with some of the greatest customizers out there in the hobby today. This is Rob Panic for Custom Action Figures 101 on serpentorslayer.info and galacticplastics.net. Be sure to subscribe to the video, like it, share it, let everyone in your social media circles know about us. Spread the love, spread the hobby. Thanks for joining us, and may the force be with you.